Hello, everyone. Hello. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm going to get everybody to stand up. We've been sitting, we've been moving, so if everyone can stand up for me. I had this music put on because this is my motto for 2024. Whatever your faith might be, that when God says yes, no one can say no. So I really ties in with me believing in what I want to do and what I can do, and believe it no matter what happens. Okay, everyone have a seat. Thank you. Okay, I just want to let everyone know how happy I am to be here. The importance of having a community and being with fellow women and women of color is so important, and I'm so excited to be here. Everyone can hear me well? Sorry, I just got back from traveling, and of course, as you travel, the air conditioning in the plane, it was a little difficult, but yes, so I'm here and happy to be here. I just think that this group, I was lucky enough, I don't see her, Angie found me online, I don't know how, and we were supposed to connect 2 years ago and she wanted me to do the Wellness Revolution. I missed her. I don't know what good you guys are with Instagram. My daughter laughs at me all the time, my beautiful daughter that's sitting right here. At how bad I am on social media, my son as well. And so her message got lost in the unconnected area, wherever that was. And by the time I found it, it was after it was done. But she reached out last year and I was able to come and speak. It was online, but I was able to do it and I was happy that they wanted me to come back. So hopefully I did something right that made them want me to come back. And I'm just excited to be here to talk to you about eating and eating well. So I'm a chiropractor by trade. I love sports. I was an athlete. Sometimes I still am, depending on the day. And I just find that it's just so important for us to move, and especially as I get older, and as some of us, we're reaching into that phase of menopause, pre-menopause, there's not enough information out there for us, and unfortunately sometimes doctors don't know what to do with us other than wait, it'll pass. Except that waiting period of passing is very difficult, and sometimes it never passes. So I've been focusing a lot on women as well, as Dr. Nicole was talking about in my bio, and that's why I'm just that excited about being here with you guys. So, as I said, I just came back from a trip to France. Have any of you been to France?
No.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Don't count. You were born there. So I lived in France for almost 20 years. I've been back to Canada for the last six and a half years. So my daughter was born there, my children were born there, and they are bilingual. They speak French and English. Well, their English was a little...
Okay.
But now it's gotten a lot better. And one of the reasons I'm sharing that as well is because the reason I went, which ties into why we're here together, is that I went to see a good friend of mine who unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer a couple years ago, and she was celebrating her 50th birthday. And it's been over a year, I believe, that she's been stable, healthy, and I surprised her. And just the pleasure I got from seeing her face when I arrived and she didn't know that I was coming is just something that filled my cup as well. And I just find that it's that important just to be there for our friends. And when I was a kid, I was called a tomboy. I used to hang around with boys, sports. But I found as we get older that nothing compares to the connection of women together. How we support each other, how we're there for each other. And I've just been leaning into that. So even though we say the economy is difficult and it's a lot to go, for me it was really important, and I think that's something that we all should try and do and continue to support each other and really just be there for each other. So once again, why I'm happy to be here. And a lot of research shows that it's important for us to support each other as well. Food also is an important thing to me, why we're here and why the wonderful food we just had and we ate thanks to love. And I've been a foodie since I was little, just naturally, because my mom used to love to cook. You know the Sunday cooking, when you're in the kitchen and you're planning for the week? I didn't realize how important that was and how that was going to guide me to where I am today. I just remember seeing my mom in the kitchen. She'd always tell me when she come back from church, you have to eat at by 2 o'clock because she's not spending her Sunday afternoon in the kitchen, and she's not cooking every day. And that, like I said, once again, will go into my discussion, and also I realize now guided me to where I was. You were talking about, Monique, how I planned my trips. So this year, for the first time, I took a trip to Jamaica by myself. My daughter was very upset. But I found that as a way of self-love. I needed that break, 5 days, just going, doing nothing. And I'm not especially in Jamaica, I'm not a resort person. Usually I'm out after. So this resort, I will not name it, was nice, but it essentially wasn't for me because I couldn't just walk out into the city. Even though I went for relaxation, I like to go out and be with the people. Go to the market, go to support. And I couldn't do that. I had to get into a van and go a half an hour or so. I don't know if I go back to that particular resort, but it was just nice to be there. But it was impossible for me to go and only stay on the resort. I had to go off to Croydon Plantation and be able to experience our people, experience the food, experience the farm, and then the food just doesn't taste the same, right? When you're there eating the star apple off the tree and the pineapples that are grown, it just fills you differently, right? So I say all that just to show you the importance that I realize, even in what I do, why it's so important for you to take care of yourself, okay? Even though it might seem selfish taking that solo vacation, but when I came back, I felt full. And I was able to take care of my patients, because especially in the medical field and the healthcare, we tend to forget ourselves. And I realize that as I'm getting older, because we want to help our husbands, our children, our friends, our patients, but then we get depleted. And sadly, I've noticed lately, and I follow one of the journals that talks about a lot of the things that we do, and there's more and more suicide and depression in the healthcare profession because we don't take the time for ourselves. And then women are worse, just because we're always giving to everyone else. So I just remind you all to take the time, no matter what you're doing, to be able to heal yourself. Breathe one day, it's become my mantra, just, even if it's 1 month, 1 day a month, go to the spa, be with yourself, whatever it is, so that you can heal, because you can't help anyone else. I always compare it like, you know on the plane, where they tell you to put on your mask before you put on someone else's? Why is that? Because if you are there helping 1 or 2 other people and then you pass out, you can't keep helping people. So you have to put on your mask so that you can help put on other people's masks. Okay? So, my passion and why I'm here and happy once again to speak with you, has anyone ever heard about the documentary Live to 100? No. Yes? Have you seen it? You've heard of it, but have you watched it? The Blue Zones. Yes. So this documentary and I've always heard about the Blue Zones, but watching this documentary and the way the producer and the creator of it, Dan Butner, the way he broke it down was incredibly, I found, eye-opening. Why is that? Because have you all heard of the Blue Zones? You all know what it is? Essentially, the Blue Zones and how he found them was actually quite hilarious. The Blue Zones are the 5 places in the world that have the most centenarians. Okay, so Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria, which I didn't know until watching this documentary, Ikaria in Greece, which is a little island that belongs to Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and the last one would probably surprise you, Loma Linda in California. Yes, that's what I thought too. Because we don't really think of the U.S. as somewhere having health. Sorry to my American friends. But it's true. We think of them with excessive eating bad foods, but if there was going to be a place, it would be in California. But what's interesting more so than where it is, it's why they have this. And I won't give away the whole documentary, but the way the presenter and director, he broke it down was amazing. Because he went to each place and he broke down what allows the people in each of those places to live to 100. Okay, and that's what's key. And I'll just mention the 4 that stood out to me that were key in that. But he went to each of these places, and also what he highlighted was that you can actually become a blue zone. So in his book, you don't see it in the movie, but in his actual book, he now has 6 blue zones, and the 6th one is Singapore. And it's because the government consciously and intentionally put things into place that allow people to live longer lives. So that's why it's so important. So nothing is fatal. You can change. You can change what you're doing from the inside out, and you can make those changes now based on that. Okay? And that's also why I named my company Limitless Healing. It's from that idea of there is no limits. If we want to, we can. And no matter what you've gone through, whether it be trauma, physically, emotionally, you can still do things to get better. Have you ever heard of the fact that you have your chronological age and your physiological age? Have you ever heard that? Yeah. Right? Why is that? So you have your physiological age. I'm 47 years old. Okay? But I could be 74 years old as I could be 30 years old based on how I take care of myself. And there's a lot of research now showing how you can move backwards in age, but it has to be a conscious and intentional effort. Reducing emotional stress, reducing physical stress, and eating well. Okay? And why I resonated with becoming a chiropractor is because for me it wasn't just about your physical health. It wasn't about just, as some people say, cracking you up and you walk out the door. It was the overall vision aspect that comes from the basis of chiropractic. Looking at people as a whole and really helping you to be 100% healthy. Okay, not just in the physical. And that's why I became a nutritionist. So during COVID, when you knew we were all locked up, fortunately, I was able to still work for my own mental health. I was able to still work. I decided to go to nutrition school and become a holistic nutritionist because of the fact that I watched over time, no matter how good I thought I was at what I did, that there was something else. Some patients were still coming back with pain. And when you talk to them, you realize it's because of the way they ate, or because they had some sort of stress at work, or emotional trauma that's coming to the surface. And when I would touch them in a certain spot, some patients that I've known, they would start crying, and I'm freaking out thinking, oh gosh, what did I do? So when it happened when I first started, because I've been working for over 15 years as a chiropractor, you think you did something wrong, you're worried, you're freaking out. But now with time, I realize it's not always that. And when you know the patient, you ask them, what's wrong? You take the time, what's wrong? What's been going on? And then you see them release, and then you realize that something happened at work or their children. And half of my job, surprisingly, is more emotional than it is actually physical. Patients will come to me and we'll spend out of, 15, 20 minutes, 10 of those talking, as opposed to just treating them, because that's what they need. I had a lady in France, she would come every 3 months to get her treatment because she was a little older and she needed to get a tune-up, as we call it. But we spend majority of her time talking, and sometimes she didn't even need to come. But that was her safe space. She came to me to talk, no judgment, and that's how she would release some of her pain because of whatever stress she was dealing with. She was a widow, had to deal with raising her son by herself, incomprehension between her and her son, but this was her safe space to be able to talk and let it out. And some of my favorite doctors are always the ones that took the time to speak with me, right? So these are the things that are important, and this is why I wanted to become a chiropractor. And I'll put my glasses on. And so as we were talking, a lot of the things that we heard from Monique and from Andrea really resonated because it's super important to be able to slow down. And that's important what you said. And one of the reasons I resonated with going to live in France was because they have a way of, they work to live. Does that make sense to you? They're not just working to make money, to run around, and we all, let's not lie, we all want to make money so we can live well. But they work to live. They're okay with making a little less money. They get 5 weeks vacation after a year of working. Can you imagine that? 5 weeks, that's in law. And they have a new law that they added, which didn't really work out, but the idea was to force people to work, to hire new people. So they added on an extra 10 days. So for most people, they have 7 weeks vacation. Like, fathom that. 7 weeks vacation. Every year. To the point where sometimes some people don't even use their vacation. And depending on what domain you work in, you get an extra 2 weeks. So banking industry, they get another extra 2 weeks. So I worked with people who had 7 to 9 weeks vacation. In the school system, teachers, they have school off 2 weeks every 6 weeks. So they start school in September, okay? And then they have 2 weeks off around October, November, 2 weeks off at Christmas, 2 weeks off in February, 2 weeks off in April. And then they get their full 2 months. Needless to say, my daughter was dying when she came here. And all she got was 1 week at Christmas and 2 weeks at Christmas and 1 at spring break. Not to mention all the holidays that they got, okay? So that's what resonated with me, is being able to slow down. And we can do it here, but you have to make a conscious effort to slow down, okay? And I saw a recent video that went through all of the continents, and North America happens to be, surprise, the worst one. I think on average, Canadians get 14 days off after starting a job. The US is 10, it's terrible. In South America, I think they were one of the best, and surprising in Asia, China, they get, I think, 21 to 30 days off. It was just crazy. You'd think that we, with all that we do in North America, we would enjoy our life, but we don't. We don't. So I say that just to remind you that, like, it's important to take the time to slow down. And I'm reading a book right now that called Unreasonable Hospitality, and they describe in there, sometimes you have to slow down to go fast, right? We just keep going, we watch everything go by us, but when you take the time to slow down, then you can move faster, okay? The other thing that I love about my job, and really corresponded to what Andrew was saying, is part of my job is being able to listen to what the body is telling you without the person being able to tell me, right? Because the body tells a lot. There's a book called The Body Keeps Score. Yeah. And that book is super important because it does. Like, I gave the example of a patient that I'm adjusting. They start crying. I've done the same thing to them in the past and it doesn't affect them. But because of whatever it is that they're going through, that now creates a lot of pain for them. And I always tell people, in some cultures you go to the doctor even when you're not sick. But for some reason here in North America we only go to the doctor when we're sick. And that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Because often our body is telling us when something is wrong, but we don't listen. Okay? It's funny. How many of you, if you see a light on in your car, that the light is on, who's going to ignore that for a week or 2 weeks or a month? No, you're not going to do that because you know what will happen. Yet, we do that with our own body all the time. You have that headache, you have that heartburn, you have the hip pain, whatever the list might be. And you know that something is wrong, yet we don't listen. We keep pushing until it's too much and it comes out as an illness. Okay, so it's one of those things of either you take care of your body or your body is going to force you to take care of it. Okay, so my mission, even more so now, is to really guide people on this journey with me, because I want to live to 100. And I want to take you all with me, living to 100, but not just living to 100 to be here. I'm talking living to 100, going on walks, traveling, hiking, living, having events like this, really living. Yes, okay? And thriving, not surviving, okay? That is my goal, through movement, through eating. So when I come back to the 4 things, so I encourage you all to watch that documentary, okay, of Living to 100. It's on Netflix. Watch that documentary. It's very eye-opening, even for myself who's in this space, who has studied this, has watched other things on it, but watching this documentary, it's a question of the way he put it together, okay? So the 4 things that are universal to all of the places I told you, Sardinia, Ikaria, Sardinia, Nicoya, and Loma Linda. There are 4 things. Number 1 is nutrition. In Japan, it might be the purple potato. Somewhere else, it might be something else. But on a whole, they're eating real food. Okay? Food that you can look at and you can name. Okay? Not something that's in a box. Okay? It's important.
20 ingredients.
Exactly. All right? So that's number 1, nutrition. Number 2, okay? Movement. See, I started with having you guys stand up because I don't know if you've heard this, they're calling sitting the new smoking. Okay? So it's important for you to get up and to move. We used to move before. When I watch these kids, I kick my kids, I'll ask her. I'm always telling her to get out of her room, to move. And my children are relatively active, right? But we realize we do not move anymore. That's another thing that really had brought me to France, was just how much they walk and move. Okay? Even if we're down the street, we're getting in our car to drive to the corner store. Why? Why not walk? We could probably get there faster. Really? Okay? So, nutrition, movement, okay? Here's the big one, which we're all doing right now. Community. Yes. Okay? And one of the places that they went to see I think it was in Sardinia, there was a lady, she didn't have any children, but the community rallied around her, and you could see how important that was for her. Okay? And even movement, apparently you could measure how long someone would live by the steepness of their streets and their house. So sometimes when I say movement, it's not even about exercising and going out, pumping weights and doing, it's just getting up, walking, movement, basic things. And you can see it, whether it be in Japan, they sit on the floor, being able to get up, sit down. Research also showing that how well you can squat and get up from a squat or get up from the floor will also determine your life expectancy. Okay? So, it's really important for you to be able to move. Okay? Make a conscious effort to get up, move, and go see your neighbor. Go see whoever, but you have to move. Okay? So, nutrition, movement, community. Okay? Because we know that after COVID, the loneliness, the isolation, okay? It's affected a lot of people, right? Because you lost that connection. Zoom was great. Thank goodness we had Zoom. But thank you so much, Loris and Angie, for having an in-person event, right? There's no comparison. The energy you feel from people when you're in the same room. The 2 presentations we had, I'm gonna leave here invigorated, right? And it wouldn't have been the same if we were online, okay? And the last one, which I think is super important, and I believe the Japanese call it ikigai, purpose. Okay? What is your purpose? I've over the years had to rediscover what my purpose is, but honestly now my purpose is helping everybody along the journey to living to 100. Okay? And healthy. And that's what I do, and that's why I'm here. Okay? All right. So, what we're going to do now is a little bit of workshopping. So one of the things I wanted to work with you guys on is conscious eating. Because when we talk about eating things that we can actually name. Okay? So I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat meat. I eat pretty plant-based, so even if I don't eat fish, I like to eat things that I know what I'm eating. But it's a trap though. Because you see a lot of the companies have jumped on the bandwagon. And if you follow what they're giving you, you can eat just as badly as being a vegan as eating anything else. Because if you look at it, as much as why are we eating nuggets that are not nuggets? Right? When you look at the ingredients, for me, if there's more than 3 ingredients, maybe 4 if you actually can decipher what that ingredient is, you shouldn't be eating it. Okay, and I'm not saying I've never had that Beyond Burger, I've had it. But if that's the staple of what we're eating, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, we have to be able to look at what we're eating and know what we're eating. And that usually means going in the grocery store and staying on the outside. Okay, more you go inside, the more the food tends to be not real. Okay, so if you ask my daughter, I bombard her all the time when I see her bringing in things in the house. I'm sorry, baby. But it's for your own good, because what we do early will affect how we are later. Okay, so it's pay me now or pay me later, right? So that's why I thought it was important to talk about eating on a budget, because a lot of people will say it's expensive, but the expense that you will pay for the medication later on will be far worse than the money you spend now to eat well. And if you do it properly, it doesn't have to cost that much. Okay? So, my goal today is just to show you certain ways that you can eat on a budget, how you can not waste. You mentioned the pineapples. I honestly did not know that. When I went to Jamaica and I did the one tour, I didn't want to do anything, but I decided let me do one tour because food was included. So I couldn't say no. And so they gave us food all along the tour of the plantation. And one of the things she did was we had pineapple drink. She peeled the pineapple, but she boiled the skin, not to mention all of the nutrients that are in the skin. The skin, the core, everything with some ginger, and it was amazing, right? And that's also a form of conscious eating and no waste. You now have created a drink from a fruit that you've eaten, and you use all of it, okay? In nutrition school, we had to do, part of our requirements was to go to a farm. Down-to-do farm, it's an urban farm. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. There's different people. But one of the gentlemen that was there, who wasn't even part of our tour, but he was so kind to come and talk, and he was just so passionate about it. He gave me beets. I love beets. I don't know if you guys love beets. I love beets. But I used to unknowingly cut off the top and throw it out. And now I don't do that anymore. He suggested you can cut it up. For a lot of the Caribbean people in here, the Caribbean, you can make it, saute it like you're making kalu. And it's so good. It's so good, and you have so much nutrients that are in there, and you're saving money. That's another meal, right? So it's all these little things that you can do. All right? So, conscious eating. We're going to start with 3. We have part 1, part 2, and part 3. Okay, so for those of you that like to take notes. Most important thing is, in the introduction, think about how you're going to grocery shop. Okay? And when you do this, it also helps you have a balanced diet. Okay? So you want to look at how you're going to eat, what you want to eat, and prepare everything that you're going to do. Next one. So the foundation of a balanced diet is having your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. Okay? But when you're doing that, because I just posted something on my Instagram, a lot of people are worried about fat. They're afraid of fat. They run away from fat. You can't run away from fat. Fat is very important because not only does it give you energy, of course, I preface that with eating the proper fat. Okay? Not just any fat, not trans fat, not polyunsaturated. You want to eat the good fats. Okay? And also for your brain, that thing that we need that helps us move, it's made majority of fat. So if we don't eat fat, how are we going to feed our brain? Okay? So it's very important to have that. The protein, because the protein are the building blocks of our muscle, okay, that help us live and keep going. And carbohydrates we need because we need energy as well. And sometimes we need that burst of energy. Next one. So here are some examples of things that you can eat, okay, that will, when you prepare, you can name everything that are in these. Oats, that gives you carbohydrates. Fruits are a form of carbohydrates. Peanut butter, proteins, powder. We can use, not my favorite, but it's good in a bind, okay, depending on where it's coming from. Tuna salad, you get your vegetables and your carbohydrates. Tuna is protein, and then you have olive oil for the salad dressing. Okay, here's just some examples you can use. So, if you go to part 1 of the conscious eating, you want to plan before you go to the grocery store. How many times have you gone to the grocery store and you said, I'm going to pick up one thing, and you leave with 20 things? I find it very difficult, I don't know about you, going to Costco and leaving with less than $100. Just because you wander. But when I have a list, I don't overspend. Okay, so eating on a budget means planning. Make your list. Make sure you know what you're going in there for, and that'll avoid you going off buying things that you shouldn't be eating.
I forget to look at the list.
You have to actually use the list, so you can make it, okay? Stick to your list, and what's important is don't go to the grocery store hungry. That's the one, okay? You go to the grocery store hungry and you end up buying things that you shouldn't be buying. Also, I used to see my mom do this, and now we have it electronically. Use your flyers. Sometimes it's worth it to go when there's a sale and you can get more than you need, okay, especially if it's not perishable, and you can make more things with that, okay? So really take the time to look at the sales and the deals that you can have. Some of the things you don't want to do again is you want to avoid buying pre-packaged foods, because usually those pre-packaged foods have a lot of salt. And even the salt in itself, depending on the kind of salt, is not too bad, but it has sugar. And in reality, sugar is more of our enemy than fats are. Okay? We all know and have heard about Alzheimer's, correct? Alzheimer's is now being considered diabetes type 3.
Wow.
So what does that mean? That it's preventable. Okay? A lot of these things are preventable. We do need sugar, yes, but if you can get carbohydrates and complex sugar, like sweet potato, that's a complex sugar. It'll be released slower and you won't have the same effects. Okay? So these are the things we need to think about, how we're eating, and we can avoid a lot of the illnesses that are coming up. Alright? So make a list. Don't shop when you're hungry. Okay? And when you buy certain perishable foods, buy them at a time when you know you're going to eat. So I like going to Costco because you can get the bulk and you don't have to go every day. But I found that I waste more money when I go and I buy the big things because I end up throwing things out. Right? So if I actually go to the grocery store more regularly, and that's something that the French do. They often have their small grocery stores locally, and they'll go to the grocery, and if it's on their way home, and they'll buy what they need for 3-4 days. And then you cook what you have, and then you go back. Okay, so there are things that you can buy in bulk, but when you can't, for all the fresh produce, you have to go regularly. And they have a lot of markets, and that's what I miss here, is not having the markets where you can go to and buy things regularly. Okay, so those are little tips that you can avoid and do. Number 2, part 2, would be storage. Okay, so some of the storage is buying frozen fruit. Especially, unfortunately, whether we like it or not in North America, we don't have the same rules and regulations that they do in Europe. So a lot of the things that are forbidden in Europe, we allow here. We're a little better than the US, but still. Okay? So, what does that mean? When you buy frozen fruit, you can get things that are actually pretty fresh because they buy them, let them ripe, and then they flash freeze them. So you can actually get healthier with frozen fruit, and it won't waste than buying the fresh fruit. I find it is strange when you're buying frozen strawberries that smell more like strawberries than the fresh ones. That tells you something, right? So a way to avoid waste is buying the frozen fruit. Okay? and buying things and storing them properly also so that they don't waste. That's also something that is incredibly important. All right, so also, how do you get creative with your leftovers? We're going to do a little workshop at the end, and you guys are all going to come up with a little meal from the ingredients that I'm going to give you that came out of my fridge at one point. So we're going to see how creative you can't help because you have too many ideas. So. Okay, so another thing that is important is also looking at the expiry dates. Has anyone ever questioned why it says best before or it says best by or expiry?
Yes.
Yes. So it's important. Grocery stores will often put on sale things that are about to expire. Okay? If it says best before, usually it's good after that expiry date, but they're not allowed to have it, so they'll sell it to you for half price. So you're going to save money, okay, but you can still use it. So that's something to look at. If for certain products, if it says expired, sometimes you can still go a day over, but I wouldn't leave it too long. Okay? Another important thing, has anyone ever heard about the Rice Act of 19, I forget what, in Japan? So a little tip, rice, and we all love rice in here, right? Don't cook too much rice at once. I know we like to make the big pot of rice and peas and have it, but unfortunately rice is one of those things that can grow mold and we do not see it. Okay? So we really should just cook enough rice for 24, 48 hours. Because, I mean, I used to do that. Leave it in the fridge for a week, you're good. No. Okay? 24, 48 hours. Store it properly. And if you do that, then you won't waste it. Because sometimes you end up at the end of the week and you throw it out. That's waste. Money wasted. Okay? So you really want to try and cook just what you need, when you need, and then you won't waste as much. Okay? Very important. And also important for your health. Very important for your health. All right. So, also now, part 3, meal planning. Okay? It comes back to my dear mom, who used to cook on Sundays. When you plan your meals ahead for the week, it seems like a lot of effort, but honestly, it saves you time. Okay? Because when I don't do that, what do? I'm stopping. Yes. I'm stopping at Tim Hortons. I'm stopping at wherever it might be, okay? And I'm not eating what I should be. Stop shaking your head. See? I'm giving up my secrets and now I'm going to hear it when I go home. Okay, so it's important. When you properly plan what you're eating, then you don't eat out. Okay, because you've had time, it's set up in your fridge, you have containers for it. It's really, really important. And those are the times that I eat the most and eat the best, okay, when you plan your meals. And it really doesn't take that much more time, and you get to save, and you save money and time. You put all that effort into it, you cook everything, and then you see how the rest of your week goes very easily in terms of time management. Okay? So, now, as I know it's been a long afternoon, we're all going to do a mini workshop. I'm going to give you a list of items. If you can change the slide. Yeah, so just a quick roundup of some of the grains, some of the things you can have, grains, proteins, fruits and vegetables. You can have a little bit of these things in your plate as your meal planning. These are some suggestions. Next one. And something that's also important is eating seasonally. Sometimes we don't think about that, but if we go back to our conscious eating, and I know it drives my mom nuts when I say this, but when we eat the fruits and things that are in season, our body adapts to that more. I know with modern day, we can eat anything and everything, right? But some things we really shouldn't be eating out of season. And then also they're not right the way they're supposed to. So try to think about eating in season, which also allows us to eat locally and support our own economy. So you have some dairy, pantry staples and beverages that you can eat. Tea bags in bulk that help to save. Tea bags in bulk, we saw when we brought in. And then just things that you can keep in your fridge, like canned tomatoes for sauces that will help you to save some money. And then your healthy fats, coconut oil, olive oil. And especially when you're cooking, try and keep the olive oil for like the salads, cold things. And when you're going to cook, more of the coconut oil and or ghee is good as well. Clarified butter. Next one. And then we'll have questions after. But so let's do a quick workshop. I'm going to give you a list. You guys can write them down, figure it out on your table. All right.
Did you have the picture?
So, I have a list of items, okay, that you guys are going to put together. It won't take you too long. Okay, but what you might have in a fridge, and what can you make with that? Okay? Are you ready? So, for the first one, you have spinach, feta cheese, red onions, a bunch of asparagus, red bell pepper, medium beets, 2 medium beets, and avocado.
You're going too fast.
Sorry.
Like that fast.
So,
I'm at still at red onion.
spinach, feta cheese, half of the onion, bunch of asparagus, red bell pepper 1, 2 medium beets, avocado, olive oil, and of course the rest you can add in your season. So, up to you now to make us a delicious meal with just those ingredients. So of course you can add in any spices that you want. Well, imagine you have all the spices necessary in your pantry, but now create us a meal just from those ingredients. And I had to do this. These are the ingredients from my fridge. All right, go ahead. After beets, it was avocado. And then olive oil, yeah. You're done already? How are they so fast? Table 5 already done. You guys are quick. I have a gift for you. I have a little gift for you. Where did you find this difficult? Yes? Table 2. Yes? Don't worry, it took me time. It took me time. I used to always go out and go shopping to add in, but because of a budget and a 15-year-old boy who's 6'1" and eating like a at home, I had to learn to make food from what's in my fridge in order to save money.
I know whose house I'm coming to for dinner. Just cook up a meal here.
Woo! I can't wait to hear it.
Wait till there's together. Plating.
So your children and husband must be enjoying the food, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
We quiz them. What's your favorite restaurant? They just love cooking. And so we garnish.
Okay, one more minute and let's see what you guys all came up with.
Right, top of the. I don't know. I went to the grocery. She was a sous chef. Yeah, I was the sous chef. Yes, I was the sous chef. Okay, we gotta talk about.
Which one of you in here are not big cookers? No shame. Good. It's okay. It's okay. We can learn to cook from anything. That's also something, I guess one of the things I learned a lot from living in France is, I was always a foodie, but is also learning to have smaller portions. And I remember when I first moved there, I was like, where's the food? They bring out something, I'm like, what is this? But then they learned how to present it so that it's appetizing, because not only do we eat with our mouth, but we eat with our eyes, we eat with sometimes the sound, if you can hear it cooking, and the smell. And they know how to present it. So now I drive my children nuts because even at home I'm putting the rice in a little dish, making it pretty. I can't just pop the rice in there anymore. Stop laughing then. See, she knows. I can't help it now. And they give you numerous dishes. Entree, plat, the main dish, the dessert, and then this and that. And then you got the bread. Okay? And so I learned to eat different portions, and it's been really good. All right. So who wants to start? Yes. Okay. Number the fastest table in here. Go ahead. Tell us what you came up with.
So we came up with spinach, feta, and red onions to make a salad.
Nice.
The asparagus, beets, and roasted red pepper is a grilled vegetable dish.
Yes.
The avocado, olive oil, and spices to make a salad.
I'm coming to your house. All right, table number 8. What did you come up with? Yes, that's you. Yes.
The spinach, feta cheese, and a little bit of red onion,
Mm-hmm.
and a bit of avocado salad,
Mm-hmm.
stir-fried asparagus, red peppers, and beets on the side. Stir-fried peppers.
Nice.
And then avocado, olive oil.
I like this. This is completely different than what I came up with. I'll tell you what I came up with afterwards. All right, table number 3.
So we're gonna use the spinach, feta, and red onion, and we're gonna do the stuffing for the red bell pepper, the red onion.
Oh, nice.
Having avocado sliced on the side, and the beets and the asparagus, we're just going to stew them lightly,
Very good. Listen, this is giving me some ideas. So this exercise is also showing you, because what I came up with is completely different with what we've had thus far. So even if you had all of this in your fridge, you can have 2 to 3 different meals. You see how you can save money with what's left over in your fridge, right? And that's the key. That's what's important. Who's next? Table number 4. That's okay. Salad is good.
No judgment.
No judgment at all. You put it all together in one salad? Yes? That's good. No, that's good. What kind of dressing? Olive oil dressing? Yeah, that's fine. Salt and pepper, you're good. And that's one thing, like whether, the importance I find of traveling also is you get to see different ways people break down things. And one thing I noticed from the Caribbean and African culture, we put a lot of flavor into things, right? So that was another challenge. Sometimes things were just so simple in France, and I'm like, why? This is missing spice. But then I learned in certain cases to appreciate it because they take quality products. And it's true. When you take quality products, you sometimes don't need to add too much to it. Not to take away from our food and what we're eating as well, but you get fresh items and you just need a little bit of salt and pepper and you prepare it and it can still be very good. So I've learned a lot and in different countries in Europe and they do it differently, right? So it's been important knowing how to do that. Table number 7, yes.
Oh. Not me, I think competition is going to speak. I just wanted to add color to something.
Yeah, because what we did was we grated the beets.
Nice.
We grated the beets and we chopped asparagus, put asparagus, the red peppers, and then with the spinach and we sort of fried it. And then we made the salad and then it was yummy.
Very good. We haven't had one thing that was the same yet, right? So you see, once again. Table number 12.
Okay, so we sauteed our spinach and our onion and our beets using coconut oil.
Nice.
And then later we added asparagus and the bell peppers.
Mm-hmm.
We then topped that with a whipped avocado. Finely diced some of the red pepper in that whip.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lightly topped that with feta.
And this is what you were saying Miss Andrea came up with?
Yep, girl.
You eating good at home, huh? Good job. All right, table number 6. What did you come up with? Shanae, tell me.
I just walked in here.
Oh. I put you on the spot.
As always.
Because I love you, darling.
Not because you cracked me into how you have to be like this.
Someone else at table 6 that was there?
We had a couple of different things. One was a salad.
Okay.
And then the other idea was a tortilla wrap. So we're sauteing the spinach, red bell pepper, and the beets and And
Yeah.
then put that onto a whole wrap, and then cover it with
Nice.
a
I like it. Very good. I think we got, no, Lauren.
She was trying to bow out.
Well, we did some roasted vegetables. We roasted the onions, the asparagus, the beans, and bell pepper.
Yes.
Then we made a spinach salad topped with feta
Nice.
and a slice of avocado.
Very good. I think, did we get your table? No, number 2. Last but not least.
Okay, so we're gonna bake the spinach and the feta with a little onion. So it's a feta cheese bake. And then we're gonna also have a separate dish with the asparagus with some olive oil and red pepper. And then we're going to juice the beets.
Nice. And honestly, beet juice is good.
Yes.
Or, and red apple. Yes. Okay.
There you go.
And did you have one by yourself? I see you trying to sneak on here. I saw you. When I said last, Lisa. Right? But I just want to know, did you not hear her beautiful accent as well? Yes. All right, go ahead.
Doing a stir fry, baking my bell pepper, and then stuffing it with my stir fry.
I like the bell pepper stuffing. I do like a nice stuffed vegetable that I hadn't thought about. And all of this sounds so much better than what I came up with. So out of time, I just put everything together and made one big salad. But I had baked my beets in the oven, and I did a warm salad. So I warmed everything up. I warmed up the asparagus. The only thing I left out was the spinach I put in afterwards because I didn't want the soggy spinach. But everything else I could warm up, and the avocado as well. I warmed up everything else and put in the avocado and the spinach and the cheese at the end. And then also to add a sauce, because it was a warm salad, I took my asparagus, and blended it with coconut milk.
What?
To make a sauce, and seasoned that with garlic powder, salt, and pepper,
Shut the front door.
and mixed that up into my salad as a warm salad. Okay, so you see everything that we can do. We didn't have one that was exactly the same. Even if we had a salad, there was different parts, different ways of doing the salad, all from the same ingredients. So this is also a way that we can save money and still eat well.
Yeah.
Okay, and when we think about all the money that we spend, and I'm included, and I have to catch myself on certain things, we have our weaknesses on frivolous things, and we don't think about our health, but at the end of the day, how do we live to 100? Okay, we need to eat well, we need to move, we need to have our community, and know what our purpose is. And that's how we're going to live long and be able to eat well. Okay, thank you guys so much.